Hello and welcome to another episode of RaiderIO's weekly No Leaver. I'm your host, Sean, and today I'm joined by the one and only PandaTV. Thanks for being here.
Hey, mate. How you going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can I call you Panda, or do I have to use your full government, PandaTV?
No, Panda's fine. So it's been my
Panda's fine?
nickname since I was very, very young. So
Okay. I have to ask, why is that your nickname? And I'm going to do a ready check while you answer.
Sure, yeah. Mum's white, dad's brown. And so it just made sense. It's been my nickname since I was very, very young. So
Story.
just made sense at the time. So
That tracks.
and it stuck, and then it went on to adulthood, and now I'm at that age where I'm 40 next month, and when I meet people, I say, "Do I introduce myself as Panda or Ryan?" It's weird. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that is weird. Yeah, because you're a grown man, right? You're like,
yeah. So
it's the context that matters. I think whoever you're introducing yourself to, it's like, bank for a loan, probably go with Ryan.
yeah. Sometimes, sometimes it's maybe I'm trying to break the ice,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. For those of you who are new to the show, Weekly No Leaver is a hosted show where we will do an interview while we run a key. And today we are running a 12 Halls of Atonement. And it's going to be a lot of fun because it's one of my favorite dungeons this season. But before we talk about the dungeon, and before we talk about Alpha, before we talk about Project Panda, you and I lived in the same city for like 2 years and had no idea. You were in Halifax,
Which one
Nova
was this?
Scotia.
I did, yeah. Very, very randomly, out of anywhere in Canada you could move in Australia. That's where you want to move, Halifax.
Yeah.
My partner at the time, who I met in Australia, was Canadian, and she was going to the sports college, I think it is there.
Okay.
And she was already on her way there when we met, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to move to Canada with me?" And I was like, "No, I'm a broke Australian." And she said, "Move to Canada and I'll pay for your flights." And then I messaged all my mates and said, "Yes, I'm moving to Canada." So, and then I did for 2 years.
I love it. We're moving to Canada.
Yeah, that's it.
My partner lived in Australia for a time.
So random.
Isn't this crazy? It's
Yeah.
like the universe was trying to put us together, and
That's it.
and here we are on this episode of the show. What did you think of Halifax? Everybody in chat right now is like, nobody cares what he thought of Halifax. Please don't ask him that.
Halifax is beautiful. Halifax is a beautiful place. It's really, really nice. At the time, it was super affordable, so that was nice as well. My job made it not as nice, I guess. So I worked for a private security company, armed private security company, and I was the only guard for the entire area of Scotia Square. So if you know Halifax, that's not great. So yeah, you have to look after like an entire area, 3 16-story buildings, a park and a school, all by yourself. And they only had like 2 guards on rotation. So yeah, that's from a security point of view, that's horrible. So but no, still love the place. Really, really fun.
Fun fact. So I did some research. We have a pretty extensive research team here at RaiderIO. We looked into crime rates in Halifax during the 2 years that you were here. And would you like to know, you had the lowest crime rates in Scotia Square in a 25-year period while you worked
Wonderful.
there. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's very good. That's very good. I know like per capita, it's still meant to be one of the worst places in all of Canada. So
yeah, we're not.
So it comes with the good and the bad, I guess. So
yeah, some stuff that we're proud of, some stuff that we're not so proud of. You know how it goes.
Hey, listen, and you might not know this information, but without Scotia Square, I never would have been a streamer. That's how my sort of journey of streaming got started. Yeah. This is I guess a bit of a weird segue, but so there was a shop there with an old Korean guy named Sam, and I used to stop in and speak to Sam. Yeah, Sam. Yeah. So Sam was the man. He now owns a Korean fried Korean store, fried chicken Korean store, and Sam was lovely, and we built up quite a relationship. I'd go in and check on him quite often, and we'd talk, and he was probably 10, 15 years older than me, maybe even a little bit older. And Sam sort of asked me about my story and how I ended up there, and we just sort of talked and became friends over the sort of year and a half. And I was out patrolling one night, and there was three guys in an alleyway, and it was snowing, and it was quite picturesque. But they were just like very, very relaxed. They didn't look like a threat, and I'd worked in security for years and years, so I was pretty used to things. And I sort of just like stepped out in this alleyway, and all I said to him was like, "Hey guys, you guys can't be here. I'm gonna have to get you guys to clear along." And yeah, they seemed super normal, super chill interaction. And one of them smashed a bottle on my head, and then there was like no pre back and forth, nothing. One of them smashed a bottle on my head, and then tried to stab me in the face with the bottle. And yeah, I got really badly injured. Luckily, I was able to like handle myself, but yeah, I had to go to hospital, and when Sam found out, it's why I call him my Korean dad. He pretty much said like, "Hey, I don't want you to work in security anymore. I don't want you to get hurt. Why don't you try this video gaming stuff for a few months, and then if it works, keep doing it, and then yeah, if it doesn't, come back to work." And that's how I started streaming. So I was already in like Darumactyre, and it like sort of well known within like the YouTube space with other people's streams and Soda's stream and stuff like that. People like knew who I was from the background, but I'd never really tried streaming full time before. And then yeah, that's how it started. Sam, my Korean dad, I guess. So
that's crazy. Were you playing Warcraft then when that happened?
Yeah, so I was an officer in Darumactyre. So back then it was like Soda Poppin', Swifty, Bajira, Elemental, Cutie, I think, like Bin Bash, all these like at the time quite well known people. Obviously Soda and Swifty and stuff still well known, but at the time like probably the biggest streamers on the platform were all like in this guild, right? So it was either you played on either Darkspear or Tychondrius, and being like an officer in Dara, we were playing high rated RPGs and doing that kind of stuff, and I was raiding as well with other people. So I played a lot of WoW already and was like around those groups, but I lived in Australia. So back then, no one had internet to be able to stream and play video games. So I was just always in the background of people's streams, right? Like I was like a character that would come on and have fun. And then when I moved to Canada, a lot of people were trying to get me to stream already. And then I was never really in that position. I was always like, nah, man, I got to go to work, you know? So.
Right. Somebody's
I
got to keep Halifax safe. You're the hero.
You're
the hero we deserved.
The Halifax Batman. That's it.
That's right. That's right. That is wild. I can't believe. I got to be honest. When I opened up with the Halifax stuff, I did not expect that to segue into streaming and into Warcraft. And what a great. You know, I'm going to take credit though. I'm going to pretend I knew that was going to happen.
yeah. I still keep in contact with Sam to this day. So,
really?
Wonderful guy, man. Without him, I wouldn't have done it. I never thought in a million years someone would do something like that for me. So yeah, Sam is the man.
Well, let's talk about that journey in streaming. So when you started, were you nervous? Did you like it right away? Did you think this is something I'm definitely going to be able to stick with? Is that groundskeeper going to pull this patrol?
In terms of it being something that I wanted to do for so long, I never thought that would be the case, right? I think I had one quite big advantage is so my background was coming from like I toured with a lot of metal and hardcore bands growing up. A lot of my friends' bands were quite successful within sort of the Australian metal and hardcore scene. So I came from doing that to then like doing a lot of security work and stuff. So I think the big advantage I had when I first started, right, was I would meet someone like Soda Pop, and 90% of the people that would meet him were like, "Oh man, please be in my video. Please, can we do content together?" Where for me, I just toured with some of the biggest bands in the world for metal and hardcore. So I would meet a YouTuber or a streamer and I couldn't care who they were. And I think for a lot of people that was refreshing.
Right.
So I was never like, "Hey man, can we collab? Can we do this?" I was just like, "Hey man." And if they were a cool person, I was like, cool. And if I didn't like them, I'd be like, whatever. I don't need to sort of hang out with this person or talk to them because I'm not trying to get views off them, right? In hindsight, probably should have soaked as many views as I could have and milked it. But no, so I think for me it wasn't like a thing that I thought I'd be doing 14 years later. But when I do something, I really commit to it. So we're here 14 years later.
That's wild. 14 years. So you recently just hit your 14-year anniversary.
Yeah. 14 years. So first partnered person in all of Oceanic to get partnered. So that was a cool milestone, I guess.
I love that. Is there any pressure that comes with being like you're very well known, especially in Oceanic, and it's like, is there any pressure that comes along with that? Like being the first, being one of the biggest, like How do you handle it?
Not really. I mean, like, it depends, right? So I guess my mindset has changed a lot over the years, and I'm trying not to segue into Project Panda stuff too much, but it's like, you know, I used to be a lot more popular than I am these days, but I think anyone that watches my content is I push as much as I can into Project Panda, right? Where I don't, and I made a video about this that I haven't posted yet a couple of days ago, where, you know, people come into your channel and they'll troll you just like everything else in sort of life, right? And people come in and be like, oh, your stream's washed up and you don't get the views that you used to anymore. But my train of thought is, I'll be honest with you, in 3 or 4 years from now, 2 years from now even, I don't care what people think of my stream. And I don't care if people go, oh, if they think of my name, I don't care if they go, oh, remember Panda, that streamer guy? I want people to go, hey, remember Panda? Have you seen the stuff he's doing now with Project Panda? That's what I want people's mindset to be. So if they go, oh, I'm not getting the views I used to anymore, I don't care. Because my focus is I'm trying to do bigger stuff than stream World of Warcraft now.
Okay.
And use the platform that I built. So
let's jump right into it then. Let's talk Project Panda. My dog, if you can hear my dog, I apologize. I have just
if you can hear my keyboard on Riverside, I apologize.
I can't. No, I can't. Let's talk good. Project Panda. So what is Project Panda? And yeah, we'll start there.
Sure. Yeah. So really long story short, I'll sort of give you the spiel that we say when we go and speak to sort of community centers and stuff like that. As of right now, Project Panda sort of breaks down into 3 things. So the main one and the one that sort of gets the most amount of attention is I build backpacks for homeless people or people that are unhoused, or might just be struggling, right? They might be on the street for whatever reason. We don't live stream it because I don't do it. If people don't want to be on camera, we don't use their footage. Legally, we're allowed to blur their face, but we just don't use the footage at all. My sort of worst case scenario with that kind of stuff is if someone is a DV victim, so domestic violence victim, and someone recognizes their voice or their face or something like that, or a tattoo, and they're in another state and then someone recognizes them, that's my worst case scenario. So first things off the bat is we don't monetize the videos and we don't stream it, right? And so we build these essential backpacks with probably sort of 30 to 40 essential items in there, like socks, jocks, undies, long-term snacks, like sewing kits, headlights. If people need it, I'm out with my van. If people need sort of, you know, a sleeping bag, I'll have a sleeping bag. And we raise all the money myself on stream. And I teamed up with a non-for-profit within the gaming space of Australia, which are quite unique, which is the sort of the biggest thing here, which is a lot of people on the internet try not to believe, but we are government accredited, all that sort of stuff. I can't lie about this. But I teamed up with a non-for-profit called GenOz here in Australia. And so I guess the biggest thing out of all of this is we take 0 cents of the dollar donated, which means that if someone donated $1 billion, I make 0 cents. So we're one of the only, if not the only non-for-profit in Australia that takes 0 cents of the dollar donated. So morally really good, business-wise absolutely stupid. It is not smart in any way, shape, or form. It's, again, morally it's great, but we should at some point, because I do sort of 14 to 15 hour days between Project Panda and streaming. So second part and third part, I'll make it really quick. I speak in high schools about cyberbullying and do sort of small focus groups with kids that sort of get bullied and the kids that do the bullying. And it sort of helps a lot looking like I do, going in there and talking to these kids that are maybe doing a bit of bad stuff and sort of going in there and talking to them, as opposed to someone sort of fresh out of university that doesn't look like they've been through much.
Right.
And then we work a lot with Big Brother and Big Sister programs and foster cares, and I go in and sort of share my story of growing up and how I went through the system and all sort of group homes and stuff to, hey, look, I've now traveled the world a couple of times. If I can do it, you can too, type thing. So
I love it. Obviously a very good cause. This is hugely beneficial to everybody who needs help sometimes. And I do want to talk about your recent event with a little pokey poke. But what made you make this shift? What happened that you were like, you know what, I can do more and I want to do more?
I guess my mindset with that kind of stuff is, look, I've been doing this 14 years now. And I think that if I don't use the platform that I've built over the last 14 years to try and do some good with, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, I'm in a position now where I have a bit of a platform, whether it's big or small, right? And the biggest issue that I see in Australia anyway, and I don't know what it's like overseas, but one of the biggest issues we see here is let's say you've got some government funded, because we're not government funded or anything like that, but let's say you've got some insane government funded, really, really good organization trying to do stuff. The one thing that they lack, and the one thing that they really struggle with time and time again that I see, is they have zero social media presence. So if I can use my social media in some way, shape, or form to try and help these organizations or spread awareness for, hey, look, homelessness is worse than it's ever been within Australia. The housing rates and how unaffordable life is over here is getting beyond insane, and it's only getting significantly worse. How can I use my platform to spread awareness for these organizations or the people that are out there trying to do good? And that's sort of my end goal, is to just try and make the end goal is with the backpacks is to not make people feel invisible. And that's what we're trying to achieve. So
what, how many backpacks do you give out, like in a month? Or
I'd say since we started, we've probably given out about 250 to 300 backpacks total, I'd probably say, but that's not a month, right? Because I sort of, outside of doing little events and stuff like that, which we've only done one of, it's literally just me building them, going out, buying the stuff, putting them all together, all those kinds of things. We did do an event which a bunch of people came to, where I invited people to come and build the stuff. And it's a bit of a misconception a lot of the time, where we are the juvenile board of Victoria, which is the state that I live in currently in Australia. They actually reached out and said, hey, can we have kids that are on their way to juvenile prison come and do like the backpack building with you? And I was like, no, because I build these in my 2-bedroom apartment. So no, you cannot, because they thought we were some big organization that's government funded and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not having a bunch of people come to my apartment. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's just me building them in the apartment. So
I love that. Hey, Panda, would it be okay if we sent a dozen kids to your house?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, not at the moment. So maybe one day, but that's maybe one day we'll have a warehouse or something like that for it. So
I love that. What is what's like the end goal? What's the dream goal for Project Panda? Like, is there a point when you're going to be like, okay, we've done enough?
I think enough is hard, right? Because that's the sort of problem with this kind of stuff. If you gave me $1 billion right now, I could probably fix 1%. You know what I mean? It's such a big issue everywhere in the world, and it seems like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. In terms of the backpacks and sort of working with homeless, yes. So the end goal is eventually I'd like to try and get some land with maybe an acre or two and build tiny homes on the land. And have a place where people can come for 12 months, and we try and get them sort of onto more sustainable housing or in a better position to get themselves back into work, and have tiny homes where people can stay for 12 months to sort of let them reset and say, after the 12 months, what can we do? Is it getting you a job? Is it getting you back in touch with family? Is it about getting you clean? A lot of people suffer from substance abuse, and I have absolutely zero judgment. I grew up around a lot of that. I've never been into drugs in my life at all, but I grew up around a lot of very serious drug abuse, right? So I understand that it can be a very, very, very dangerous thing, and I understand that people, struggle with addiction. So we have no judgment there, but that's sort of the end goal, is to build tiny homes with like a program, and people can go and stay there for 12 months with an array of things that they can do there. And sort of with the other stuff that we do, next year we're rolling it more into sort of like a youth mentoring program, where like kids that are struggling or kids that are maybe getting in trouble with the law or in a position where they're sort of on that tipping point, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of kids that go through the system, they get to an age and they have to make a choice. Am I going to go out and rob someone to have some money, or am I going to go out and get a job for bugger all money, right? Because the choice isn't always easy.
Yeah.
And so we'll be rolling all the other stuff into like a bit more of like a youth mentoring program or sort of small focus groups working with youth. And I think that's very short-term achievable. So,
do you have any training in like social work or in outreach programs? Like, is everything you do just self-taught?
I mean, look, I've only got life experience, right?
Right.
I don't know if you know, but there was a Vice documentary done on my life of sort of, being a rat kid from Western Sydney to where I'm at now. Like my parents went to jail when I was 14, and I was sort of on my own since then. I was homeless myself and stuff like that. And they went to jail before I was 14, and I went through a lot of, I guess in some people's eyes, I went through a lot of bad stuff. Like the first time my mum and stepdad went to jail at the same time, I got left in a place where kids go before they go to juvenile prison. So I'd never been in trouble in my life, never done anything wrong, and they couldn't find foster care for me. And so I was probably like 12 years old, and so the government put me into a place which is like the worst of the worst of the worst kids, right? So these kids are waiting to go to juvenile prison, and they're sort of awaiting their charges, and so they put me in this home, and it was meant to be like, I'm going to go here until sort of they can find me more sustainable housing to stay in. And then it sort of got to the point where they were like, well, Ryan started the program, he should finish it. And I'm like, I've never been in trouble. And then they left me there for 12 months. So, and I don't know how much I can say on here, but yeah, that 12 months is insane. Like I've never seen more sort of physical and sexual assault done to people in my life, in terms of like, and this is kids doing it to other kids, right? Kids' age between the ages of like 12 and I think the oldest kid we had was 16. And yeah, it was a horrible place. Locked doors at night. It was effectively prison. So we had full-time staff, locked doors at night, all this kinds of stuff. And yeah, so I've only got like life experience. That's it. That's all I've got. So
that is, I'm not supposed to swear, so I'm trying not to drop an F bomb
you're
right now.
You're
That is that's wild to me.
Yeah, but that's like 1%, right? So that's like 1% of the stuff. So I know here in Australia, in terms of like youth workers, which are like kids that work with troubled teenagers and stuff like that. Now they're trying to hire people more based off life experience and sort of book smart. And what we find is it makes it a lot easier for the kids that I'm going in and talk to, right? Like you could be an amazing social worker, but if you're fresh out of university and you can't relate to the kids, especially when it comes to the talking in high schools, right? Where if I go in there looking like I do, one of the big things that we talk about. So there's two people in the world I call my brothers, who have just been there with me sort of since I was very young. One of them's Anthony. Anthony's 6'6". Anthony's 6'4", owns an MMA gym and trained for many, many years in MMA. There's me with head and face tattoos, and then my other person I call my brother Adam, who's 6'6". We've called him Troll since we were 16 because he's been 6'6" since we were 16.
That's awful.
One of the things that we sort of start the conversations with the kids is, you know, what are you going to do if you bully someone and in 10 years from now they look like me? And a lot of the kids, you can see the fear. They're like, oh God, I didn't think about that, you know, because myself, Adam and Anthony, we all got bullied in high school a lot. We're all victims of being bullied a lot. And then you can sort of see a lot of the kids go, oh, that's not good. That's not good. I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to bully someone then they look like you, right? So,
right. How do you go from I do have a question. We just blew the doors off of this Halls of Atonement.
Yeah, very easy. Yeah. So
it's a while. If you have a few more minutes, I'd love to just have a few more questions. I'd love to ask if you have a little bit more time.
You got the next hour if you need it. I'm good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was great. Okay, well let's dial in here, because how going through that experience.
Thank you to the group, by the way.
Yes, they're fantastic. They are fantastic. I think the Demon Hunter and the Shaman were competing to see who would get top spot, and I'm pretty sure the Shaman is mad that I left those mobs on him, because I think that's why he lost. But anyway, that's not important. I'll deal with that later. So that's obviously a horrible experience that you went through. Obviously, I'm sorry you had to go through that. How do you come out on the other end of that and be like a driving force for good, like you are? Because it would have been so easy for that to destroy your life and for you to go the other direction.
I mean, and that's a big part of the conversation that I had with a lot of these kids, right? So when I was 14, I was about 13, my mum and stepdad got out of jail for an array of bunch of different charges. And when I was 14, so they got out of jail and we fled that state that we're living in. That's how I ended up moving to Sydney, which is where I grew up and sort of became a man and sort of had to live on my own, stuff like that. So we'd only been in Sydney for about 2 weeks, and my mum and stepdad got caught, and so they were trying to work out if they're going to extradite them back to the other state. So they went straight to like I don't think it's like prison, but they went straight to jail, which is like there's a difference. I don't know, never been in jail or prison. But they got caught, so they put them in these centers or whatever. And so while they're waiting their charges, I was just on my own. So the way that worked is I sort of came home one day and they weren't home, and I was like, whatever. I just sort of kept going to school. We'd only been in Sydney, so we'd only been in the state for about 2 weeks. Didn't know anyone, didn't know had no other family, just my mum growing up. That's it. And so I remember going to school, coming back, kept coming home, and about a week later, because we only just moved in, our locks had changed. So I guess we didn't pay rent or whatever, or we didn't pay something, or something wasn't signed.
Right.
And so I sort of had this choice to make where, do I contact the government or the police and say, hey, I'm on my own, what do I do here? But my fear was that they were going to put me back into another center like I just came out of, right? Which is full of these kids that are extremely violent, in a matter of ways. Or do I just sort of pull my socks up and do it? So I went down to an area called Parramatta, which was a local area to us. And I went into every restaurant I could and said, hey, I need a job. And I got a job at a restaurant called Cranides. And they paid me $3.75 an hour, cash in hand. So, and I just became a chef apprentice. So I became a chef apprentice and did that. And then with Cranides, what I would do is I would go to school, and I would sleep near the school. And if kids from school saw me and they were like, why are you outside? I'd be like, oh man, I was at this like crazy party and got drunk, and I didn't want my parents to find out. And then I would get new clothes for school at the lost property box, and just find new clothes. And I think the school started to catch on, or a couple of the staff did. And then I would wash my chef uniform via a lady from the canteen, would wash my chef uniform for me. So, and that lasted a couple of months, and I just sort of lived on the street. But to answer your question in a much shorter way, you just sort of make a choice, right? As a person, doesn't matter what your age is. It's, am I gonna go down the path of sort of what my stepdad did? I could have just contacted my stepdad's friends and maybe got a motorcycle and put a vest on and said, okay, this is the life I'm going to live. Or do I want to not do that because I see where it leads people, and sort of make a choice? And I made a choice and said, all right, I'm just going to work my ass off and see what happens. And I pretty much worked full time, 2 jobs from the age of like 14 to 28 or something like that, right? Or whenever I started streaming. So
That's crazy. You saved yourself, and now you're saving others through Project Panda. And I love it. It is wild. Like, I had respect for you before. I was like, this is Panda. He's out there, he's grinding, he's doing these things, and he's doing good things for people. Hearing the background, hearing the backstory to it, I would like to think that I would have the strength of character to pull myself out of it like you did, but I lose my mind if the bottom of my shoe gets too wet. So I can't imagine. My whole day is done at that point. So it's like, I can't.
Yeah. Listen, as I get older, I'm the same. Listen, if someone cuts me off in traffic, my whole day's ruined. So
just use your indicator, people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just don't get in front of me. Leave me alone. Yeah.
I love it. How can anybody else who's maybe not in Australia, or how can those people listening and watching who are inspired by this, how can they get involved with Project Panda to help?
Yeah, so it's just PandaTV.au. That's it. And it'll tell you everything we got. We got a mission statement, sort of goes through everything that we do. Again, if anyone does support it, it goes to a government accredited charity, and again, we take 0 cents of the dollar donated. So it doesn't go to there's like this huge illusion when you do stuff with charity that it goes to my PayPal or my bank. It doesn't. And again, we are like government approved. It took 9 months of lawyers. Where if you're in Australia, it won't work if you're outside of Australia, because we are a government accredited non-for-profit. If you donate and you are within Australia, you instantly get a tax receipt, because we've got I think it's called DGS status or something, which took a long time to get, which means that if people in Australia donate, they get a taxable receipt so they can claim their donation on tax. Doesn't work outside of Australia. Yes, just pandatv.au. That's it. So, and that'll tell you everything we do, and there's a couple of stories in there. So we've had some really good ones. One that we had where we had a young guy in the city, who, quite young guy, he's only about 22, I think, and I'd seen him a few times. We made a video with him and we put it up on TikTok. Again, don't monetize the videos. Put the video up, and it got about 600,000 views on TikTok, and we actually had a circus reach out, which was really cool. And it's a lot easier to find stuff like this for someone that, if they're quite young and versus someone that's been on the street for 30 years, they've got 1 tooth left. You know what I mean? And everyone knows him. It's a bit harder to find him work or something like that. But this young guy, we had a circus reach out, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to give this guy a job. We'll offer him a full-time job touring with the circus as like a carny, working on rides or doing that kind of stuff." So that's sort of the goal is with Project Panda is, can I use my platform to try and help someone? We've had people's families reach out and be like, "Hey, that's my cousin. Where are they? We want to help them."
I love it. That's great. That is a feel-good story. Hey, let's talk about the time you got stabbed.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not always pleasant doing Project Panda. It's interesting. So I get it. A lot of people, since I've started this, a lot of people always try and say to me like, "Oh, you're doing this for the wrong reasons, or you're trying to do this for views or followers or something like that." I've been doing this social media thing for 14 years. I'm not an idiot. If I was trying to milk views for this kind of stuff, what I would do is every violent interaction I have, I'd put that at the start of the video, right? I would start the video with a snippet of someone being aggressive or swearing or doing something like that at me, and then I'd let the video play from there. If people don't want to be on camera, if people are sort of hyper aggressive, I don't know if they want to be on camera or not. So we just don't use the footage at all. We don't use it, right? So yeah, I've been threatened to get stabbed a couple of times, and I've had people pull out dirty needles. That's the only time where I might be a little bit more aggressive back, is if someone has a dirty needle. If they've got a knife or something, I'm like, whatever, you don't scare me. I'm confident in sort of how I can handle myself. But if it's like a dirty needle, I don't know what's in there. I don't want to get Hep C or Hep B or anything like that, right? So at that point, I'll be a little bit more stern and sort of saying like, get away. Yeah, I was out last week doing Project Panda stuff, and I was heading to an organization that build hampers for homeless people. So looks like a really good cause. They are government funded, but they've got like 8 followers or like 800 followers on social media or something like that, right? Their posts don't do very well. So I was going to go there and say, "Hey, look, this is what I do. How can I help for free? Is there a group of kids here that would be good for me to talk to? Do you guys do volunteer stuff? What can I do to help?" And they're actually closed. It was like destiny that I was going to get stabbed. They were closed for 3 days, and it was one of the only 3 days of the year that they're closed. And it said that they're open online. So I went there, and they just had this little sign, and they're like, "Hey, we're closed for 3 days." I was like, damn it. And so there was a park next door, and I have like a van that I fill up with backpacks, and I go out every Tuesday. And so I was in the van, and there was a park next to here, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? I'll go and see if there's anyone there that needs help." Because it wasn't like near shops or anything like that. And I saw a gentleman that was out, and I sort of approached, and I was like, "Hey, matey, like this is what I do." And I had a backpack in my hand, and I sort of make very clear, I say straight away, "Hey, mate, I'm not from a church, not from anything like that. Me and my community, we build these backpacks. Would you like one of these?" Sort of got up, wasn't too aggressive yet, and then sort of when he got up, like when I got a bit closer, it got hyper aggressive really quickly, and he sort of got a bit closer to me and pushed me, and I was like, "Hey, mate," I was like, "Hey, that's cool. You don't have to do anything if you don't want it. That's cool." And I probably should have mentioned the other part of Project Panda is I give out the backpacks. I refuse to give out money. I grew up around substance abuse. I grew up around a lot of alcohol and stuff like that. So what I do is I offer to buy people lunch. Okay. So if they want a steak, I'll go and buy them a steak. They just got to wait for me to go and get it. Usually people just want Macca's or something easily accessible. So I'll give the backpack, sit down with them, spend 20, 30 minutes with them, buy them lunch, and sort of sit there and spend time with them, right? So I was sort of explaining to him, say, "Hey, mate, look, I'm just trying to give you this backpack and go and buy some food if you want it." And he pushed me again. Second time pushed me, I didn't really notice anything. And I was like, "All right, cool, mate. No worries. I'm not gonna push it with you anymore. That's cool. I'll just walk away." And you get this a lot, like a lot of people, but I don't judge because I don't know what headspace he's in, right?
Right. Yeah.
We had a gentleman a couple of weeks ago who refused to take a sleeping bag. He looked freezing to me. And the logic part of my head was like, just don't do the sleeping bag up. But he refused to take a sleeping bag because every time he sleeps outside in a sleeping bag, he said that multiple occasions people have like come and bashed him while he's sleeping on the street
in there,
and he's trapped in the sleeping bag. So now, and I said to him, "So mate, you can just unzip it." And he was like, no. So he was that. So I don't know what's happened to this guy. So there's no judgment still. And so I got back in the car, started driving, and I was like, "Man, my stomach feels hot." I was like, my stomach is weirdly hot. And I looked down, and there was like a hole in my jumper, hole in my t-shirt, and then I was like, "Oh, he stabbed me. That's why my stomach's hot." I was like, damn it. And look, I said this on stream, so I'll say it here. In hindsight, I'm a lot happier that I didn't notice at the time.
Yeah.
Because I think I would have gotten very angry.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help anyone. So
yeah.
So I'm a nice streamer guy now, but I still got like 5 years of Muay Thai under my belt, and I'm so I'm still. I was like, I'm glad it didn't happen in the moment, because like again, we get aggressive people all the time, and it's very easy for me, and I'm quite calm in those situations. We're like, hey mate, just calm down. It's cool. It's all good. If you don't need help, that's fine. I'll just walk away. But if someone stabbed me, I feel like I'd probably get a little bit angry. And so but I was very lucky. Went and did blood tests and all that kind of stuff, and it looked like it was a box cutter when we went back and looked. Okay. So I'd much rather that than like a needle or something like that. So I was fine.
For sure. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. My partner said I'm insane because the same day that I got stabbed, we were out for dinner, and I went and helped a homeless guy that night. And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't know. Just go help people, man.
I just need to help."
You got stabbed today, Ryan. Like today, 12 hours ago. Not even 12, 6 hours ago, you got stabbed. And I was like, "Yeah, well, this guy needs help." And she's like, "Yeah, you're an idiot." So.
You are you were Halifax Batman. Now you're Australia Batman.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Batman had some body armor. Maybe we'll get you some body armor.
Yeah, a few people have suggested I get some Kevlar stuff. I mean, look, the stabbing rates and crime rates, unfortunately, in Australia, especially Melbourne right now, are absolutely insane. So we just the government just spent $13 million on machete bins. So if people don't want to have machetes anymore, they can go and put their machete in a bin. That'll fix it. That's what we should spend $13 million on. That's a whole nother conversation.
Job done.
Yes. And it reminds you, by the way, that if you put your machete in the bin, it says really big on the front of it, you are under surveillance. You know what criminals want? They want to be recorded as they get rid of their weapons.
That's right.
If I've learned anything in life, that's what they want. So
I guarantee you, whatever politicians passed that bill and signed that, when they were done, they looked at each other and they went, "Well, that's that machete problem sorted." What happened?
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so there's so many things. So I don't know if you know, they're trying to ban. It got passed. They're trying to ban social media for kids under the age of 16 in Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, they're spending millions of dollars on it because no child knows how to access the internet without if you say, "Hey, you can't open Twitter." Not one child in 2025 will work out how to still access Twitter.
Yeah. And then they went, "Well, there's that social media problem."
yeah. God, we spent that $100 million so well this year. Look at us. Killing it.
Your whole life has like been this one big journey, one big adventure, and you have another one coming up. You're taking a trip to Japan and Korea. Is that correct?
That's just a mental health break. That's that's got nothing to do with Project Panda, but I guess I can probably announce it here. So in January, I'll be going back to Japan, it looks like, and I will be doing something called I'm going to say this properly, Nakasendo Way Trial. So I'm going to try in January walk about 600 kilometers. I don't know what that is in miles, over about 11 days. And the idea is I'm going to try and raise money for every kilometer that I walk or mile that I walk. Americans.
I'm Canadian. You can use kilometers.
Yeah. How silly is it?
That's right. Yeah.
They're the only ones.
Yeah.
I lived in Florida for 4.5 years, and I just don't get it. That's fine. It's another conversation for another time.
That's right.
So yeah, I'm going to try and walk about 600 kilometers in 11 days. And then the idea is that every kilometer that I walk, I try and raise money for Project Panda. Again, we take 0 cents of the dollar donated. So yeah.
Very
Again,
cool.
Morally, really good.
Yeah.
Business-wise, horrible.
Yeah. You should hire a business manager, but maybe not. I kind of like that it's more
but
of a
I
good
need money to
business
pay him. I need money.
Right.
Do you know how many people reach out and it's these default Danny messages like, "Hey man, I'm this editor for these many people in Echo and Method. Do you want me to edit stuff for you?" I'm like, "Sure, I don't make nothing. So you can do it by yourself. Sure, here's the footage, go nuts." They never respond.
Yeah.
Never, not once. That just
Do you work for free?
Yeah, do you work free? Because I wouldn't, but hey, if you want to. So
I could get you some used machetes.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, occasionally I get a game code for a game. You want You want an expansion code? I'll give you that. So
I love it.
yeah,
Will you be streaming any of the Japan stuff, or?
So that's why I'm not doing Australia. So I was going to try and walk or cycle across Australia, but I could strap a Starlink to my forehead and the internet would still drop out. Right? It's just unfortunately, Australian internet is absolutely poo poo on the move. So Japan has really solid internet for streaming and stuff like that, and it's quite across Japan. So I will ideally be streaming every single day, probably like 8 hours of the trip, or the entire time I'm walking, maybe. Because I got to do about 50 Ks a day, I think, to hit the target. So
okay, that's a lot.
Should be right.
Okay,
you'll be right. You'll be right. So.
All right, I love it. We got sidetracked really early, and I'm glad we did because this has been probably one of my favorite episodes ever. I really love diving into that other stuff. I feel like we should probably talk a little bit about Warcraft because this is a Warcraft show.
True.
So the alpha, closed alpha symposium Q&A deep dive happened over the last 2 days. What are your initial impressions of the midnight alpha?
I mean, it looks insane. Right, it looks insane. It looks like a lot of classes are actually being simplified even more. I don't know if we can talk about class changes now, right? Because everything's live.
Yeah, everything, all embargoes are lifted. We can tell the world.
Invokers are even easier. It's like you don't have to press engulf. Nothing. Like what it was. There was like 3 buttons. I played Evoker last year for Mythic, right?
Yep.
And you do so much damage, and now it's just even more insane. And you press nothing. You press nothing. So yeah. Look, I'll try and say a positive and a negative just to play devil's advocate for the sake of conversation. I'm super excited. Midnight looks insane. Player housing is unfathomably insane. Like it's the best thing I think we'll see in a very long time for a lot of people. And I think that's potentially something that could bring people back to the game a little bit that don't actually care about playing the MMO. They just want to do that, right? But I will say, because I always try and be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the way that hero talents work in terms of I don't really find it super enjoyable to go like 1 to 2 to 3 expansions of, hey, your rotation is exactly the same for 3 expansions, but here's the only thing that's new is a 45-second cooldown. And that's your one new ability in 2 or 3 expansions. I'm not a fan of that. Right? I wish that it was like, and it's hard because then people will say, well, what about button bloat? But it's like, look, I'd prefer that we replace some skills with, okay, let's say now instead of I press Blade of Justice, I press Blade of Justice and 3 paladin images of the light come out and fight with me. Or it does something a little bit different, right? I do miss the days where a new expansion would come out and it feels like you have a whole new toolkit as opposed to pressing the same buttons for 3 expansions. So.
Yeah, I think the simplification of classes would be good for new players coming in and good for players who have been on one class for a long time and want to try something else. I hope they also allow still for that high skill ceiling for the players that are like, dyed in the wool of one class and they're like, hey, I really want to show how great I am at Beastmaster. Yeah. So
that's an odd example. That's an odd example to use. Okay, that was on purpose. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never smirch the good name of Beastmasters. It's exciting stuff. Will you be streaming much of the alpha coming up, or do you know?
I'm going to try and sleep today, and then I will.
Nice.
So I think from today we can stream it, right? I think now.
You are safe to stream as of now, as of recording this episode. Okay. Yeah. I
didn't even have it on my title or nothing like that. Then I woke up today, and before the alpha was there, everyone had it in their title. They were like, pre-alpha. Midnight alpha. I was like, you bastards. I didn't know we could have that. I should have milked views yesterday when I streamed. I didn't know we're allowed to do that. So
yeah. I love it. You're still holding this plate in game. I
think this is me now. This is my entire life.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold on. I want to transition over to this. I want you, because I think we're gonna wrap it up. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I want you to give us one more pitch for Project Panda and for getting people involved so that I can get it with this plate here.
With the plate. Yeah.
You got to target me this. You're looking at me. You're not even making eye contact.
I'm talking to this bat. There you go.
All right. Hit us.
Yeah, so Project Panda, long story short, I'm just trying to make people not feel invisible, trying to use a platform that I've got to do some good. On the flip side of that, we're just trying to help out sort of, youth and people that might be on a different path. They've got a choice to make, and just really trying to share my story with them and where I started to where I'm at now. So pandatv.au will give you all the information you need to know. And yeah, I hope to see you there. You can come into my stream. I'm a completely different person on stream, and I'll probably swear at you on stream. So that's different. So I'll talk to you about charity stuff. But if you're mean to me, I'll be mean back. That's the whole point of my stream. So different from the charity stuff.
I love it. I love it. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was a blast. We got to hang out during the Racer World first. We had a casting session together. This tops that by 1,000,000 times. So thank you so much.
Not a problem. My absolute pleasure.
Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, so PandaTV on Twitch, and then PandaTV OCE, I think on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it's called now, and
X, the everything
Instagram.
app.
Yeah, and actually, I should probably say the most important one if you want to see Project Panda style videos, which is because I'm really good at this and I have it ready to go because I know what the channel is called. It is called. It is. I'm just. My brain is not me. So it is. It's PandaTV OCE on TikTok. We've spent a lot more of this year doing sort of the back end government side, going into local councils and stuff like that. So probably have to scroll down a little bit. But if you go in there, you can see the videos that we make. So it's just PandaTV OCE on TikTok.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Listeners, if you followed along with us, you can try to beat our time in this Halls of Atonement 12 that we ran. We blew the doors off of it. The link to the Mythic Plus replay will be in the description of this video or podcast, however you're consuming it. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today, everyone. And again, one more huge thank you to Ryan and everybody that he has with him on Project Panda. I'm going to assume it's his giant team and not just this. Damn, that makes me sad a little bit.
No, it's the Genos guys in Kismet. That's who helps. So
perfect. And again, everybody, thank you so much. And in a world where you could be anything, be kind.